Hey everybody, welcome back to Sports Talk for You. My name is Aaron Bell. I'll have my co-host Adam Parker with me today. Shocker fans, if you need to subscribe to our channel because tonight we have a big show. You know him from Missouri State. You know him from Southern Illinois Salukis. He was an assistant at Kansas once. He is now the assistant at Oklahoma State. Barry Hinson will be joining us tonight. I have always been a fan of this guy, going back to his Missouri State days when Missouri State got robbed. I believe back it was 2007-ish, 2008-ish when he was 25-9. Even though I'm a Shocker fan, I don't like Missouri State, I don't like SIU. I've always had a feel for this guy. He is a wonderful coach. He is a great guy to speak with. He is very classy. He does not, well, he is classy. When we all remember the 2013 rant he went on, 2014 rant he went on, when SIU got beat to Murray State and he brought his wife and the whole size matters thing. I mean, that was a great thing. But Barry Hinson will be joining us in a couple minutes. I'm very excited about this. He is a wonderful person, and I could not be more excited to have a guy like him on our show tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be great. He did have one of the greatest quotes ever, and I'm excited for tonight, honestly, and can't wait for him to join. It's been, even though he's not the coach there anymore, it's been a heck of a basketball season this season. I don't know if it's just because of Corona or the fact that Kentucky is just not playing up to par, which I'm okay with because I can't stand Calipari or Duke. It's just been really, really just a really interesting season, and as well as with KU and its struggles, I don't know how they're still ranked.
Exactly.
So it's just been a really interesting season.
Exactly. And going back to his Missouri State day where they got hosed when I believe they went 25-9 and didn't make the tournament. But we are now getting Barry Hinson on right now. Barry, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just don't have a picture, but that's fine. I was making sure you were on with us here.
I think I've hit everything right. Hopefully the picture will come up here.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway, guys, I don't know what to tell you. I thought I hit everything right.
Hey, that's fine. Hey, I'm glad to have you on tonight. I mean, I was watching that game the other night, and what you guys did against Texas Tech, that was probably the most exciting game I've watched all year long almost. I mean, that was just a back and forth battle, and the way you guys battled it out, it was great. Excuse my alarm there. But yeah, take us back to that night. I mean, the comeback you guys made and all that stuff. I mean, you guys did it all that night.
Well, you know what? We were very fortunate. We came out really, really flat to start the second half. We didn't score for about almost 6 minutes, and Keelan Boone came off the bench and gave us a jump start. He hit a three right there in front of us on the bench, and it just kind of jump started us. But you guys have been in this business long enough. You understand February, anything can happen. I mean, if you watched the Big 12 last night, you saw what happened in the Big 12.
Yeah.
If you're not ready to play night in and night out, it's a struggle. And this is why Coach Smith used to say at North Carolina that February is the dog days of college basketball. And right now, if you're a college basketball fan, you can tune in to any game that you want. My mom went to bed. My mom's 84, and she went to bed the other night when KU was playing Texas last night. She said, well, I'm glad the Jayhawks won. And my wife had to inform her this morning that they got beat at overtime. And so you just got to hang in there, man. You got to stay with the game. And Lord knows we've done it twice this year with TCU and West Virginia, had double digits with a double-digit lead in the second half with not a lot of time and ended up losing both. So you just got to hang in there. And we're really proud of our guys the other night because Texas Tech's a good basketball team, and they're obviously well coached.
Exactly. Barry, I know you've had a lot of years of coaching, and this has got to be by far the most frustrating year as a head coach, assistant coach, wearing masks on that sideline, your players being, 5-6 feet apart in chairs. I mean, can you explain to us how frustrating it was maybe at the beginning of the season, but now that you guys are used to it and there's you guys are getting into the flow. I mean, just were the do the players get frustrated beginning of the season and then they finally get in the flow, or are they still kind of like, this is not college basketball?
You know what, Aaron, I think this, the great thing about players, and it's like children, they're so resilient that they just they can flow. And this process has been literally from almost a year from today, a year this month, next month, coming in. I can remember we're getting ready. We're going to the Big 12 tournament. We've just eaten our pregame meal. We've gone down to our rooms. We're all putting our Sunday go to best clothes on. Here we go. We're getting ready, and phone rings, and hey, you guys come back up here real quick. And season was over. I think that moment at that time, we realized, even on the bus traveling back and realizing that watching all these conference tournaments being canceled, one after another, we knew that we were headed in a direction that we thought postseason play was going to be canceled. And I think that was the hard part. Once we got through that, I think the shock and awe was over, but we didn't really know what to expect. I had for those of us who had football, we were able to figure that out a little bit because we had fans, the 25% spread out. You could only sit with people that, and all that stuff. So we were kind of lured into that at the time to be a little bit more comfortable. But to say that we've gotten used to it, I don't think we'll ever get used to this. I think the most impressive thing that's happened this year from our student athletes is that they've been able to compete at the level in which they are. We are 30 practice sessions short of what we would normally be at this time. And we're really probably 9 to 10 games short of where we would be at this time. I get tickled at all these analysts on TV that talk about how there's bad basketball. Well, let's take your company or your business, and let's tell you that you have to shut down for 30 days and you can't practice or do anything. And we're not even talking about the teams that have had to go to quarantine. I mean, we have yet, knock on wood here, we have yet to be shut down. We've been fortunate. But, one of my best friends is Tim Jankovich at SMU. They've not practiced or played for the last 9 days. You look at what Baylor didn't get to participate for 21 straight days. So Villanova at one time hadn't played a game in a month. So for these young men to go through not only a pandemic, no crowds, virtual schooling, a political season that we've just witnessed, a run on our capital in the United States of America, and over 500,000 loved ones have died. You can only imagine the mental stress that's on all of these young men and young women in NCAA or college athletics. And for them to do what they've done, I think is overly impressive.
Yeah. Adam, one question.
Yeah, I got a quick question. With everything that's gone on, and I'm going to use like Kentucky as an example, do you think part of their problem and some of these other blue bloods like Duke who are like struggling, and you can even throw in KU, do you think it's the lack of fans not being in their building to kind of give them that home court advantage feel? Or do you think it's like I just heard you mention, maybe a lack of practice time that they're struggling?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. Let's get one thing straight, guys. When I sit on that Jayhawk bench, now this is an unbelievable stat for you guys. For 4 years, I sit on that bench. We lost one home game.
Wow.
One. And that was the night after Thomas Robinson's mother passed away. And our whole team was up that night. And we played really well the first half. We just ran out of gas and got tired in the second half. And Rick Barnes in Texas were able to beat us that night. That's it, guys. One loss. So I don't want to take away from any of the people that we played at that time, but that building is so special. The Cameron Indoor Crazies, it's so special. The Syracuse Dome, it's so special. Those places, sure, it's had a major effect on college basketball. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I saw this last night. Going into the Big 12, road wins were 30 and 29 in the Big 12, if I'm not mistaken.
Which is
on the plus side. I mean, that's just you would have never thought that. And I was so disappointed when we went to Kansas that Cade Cunningham and those two senior transfers that we had didn't get the opportunity to play in a true Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah.
When we played at Austin, it was just, guys, it's amazing. The night we played Iowa State, there were 134 people in the stands.
Jeez.
Now, I didn't count the band. I didn't count the cheerleaders. Now, obviously, we had a snowstorm, but that's never affected people in Ames, ever. I mean, when we played there, when I coached at Kansas and we played there, it was packed. Last year when we played there as Oklahoma State, great crowds, 134 people in the stands. I mean, you would never have thought that you would see this. We got to get back to where, the fans are in the game. And I think more so for the enjoyment. I listened to a game the other night where they piped in crowd noise.
Yeah.
We played at Marquette and they piped in crowd noise. They didn't pipe it in for us. But when they get the ball, go down to the other end, you had all this false. It was like, to be honest, it was like that white noise you listen to when you go to bed. It was awful.
Yeah, I mean, when I watched the game the other night, I think you guys had probably, 2,500, 3,000 fans there, and it sounded like a good 8,000, 9,000. I mean, it's amazing what 3,000 fans can sound like. I mean,
well, and even at KU when we went in there, and I think they probably had, 1,500 to 2,500 somewhere in there. It was loud, but it's not deafening loud. And one of the things that we found out in the things that we've had to adjust on is what we yell or say during a ball game, because you could used to yell out a play or something and your players could hear it on your end and the opponent, even if the players are, but your opponent coaching staff, opposing coach couldn't hear it. Well, now they can hear everything. So, you almost have to be like a church mouse and how you do. And we've gone to a lot of visual stuff, but at the same time, it's just everything is different. But we're very fortunate that we're still getting able to play basketball. And a lot of it has to do with the commitment for people wearing masks. I know there's a lot of controversy. I don't want to wear a mask. You're taking away my rights. All this. Let me tell you something. Because of people wearing masks, we've been allowed to have a college basketball season. And certainly no one talks about it as probably as much as we do. But for the mental health aspect of this is much needed.
Yeah. Now, I want to go back to the Valley days. As a Shocker fan myself, not a Missouri State fan, not an SIU fan, but I still loved you as a coach. I respected you. Take us back to, you'll have to remind me what season it was. You guys went 25-9. We're in the top 25. You guys are sitting there on Selection Sunday, thinking, okay, good, we're going to be around 9, 10 seed. And then your name doesn't get called. I mean, how devastating was that for you as a head coach and for the players?
Yeah, I really appreciate you bringing that up. I tried to get that out of my mind. It probably did more to map out my college basketball coaching career than anything. There was a point in time, I never forget, that every year I would be sitting there and because you would, at the end of the season, you always take off your winter weights. As a coach, you're always working out. I'd be on a treadmill. We're somewhere recruiting or some hotel or whatever, and it'd say the top 5 teams never to get into the NCAA tournament based on RPI. And 3 of those top 5 were my teams. And it was just gut-wrenching when you saw that. And I think the one that was the most disappointing is the day you talked about. We didn't think we were in. We knew we were in.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, if you remember right, I think we won on senior night at Wichita State. We swept Wichita State that year. We had a great year. We had a 21 RPI. We're still the lowest RPI team ever in the history of college basketball. I'll never forget, Bob Huggins was at K-State. They had a press conference the next day, and he went off because they were 58 and didn't get in. We were 37 spots lower.
Yeah.
And nobody came to our defense, not including at that time our president. And I was really upset that we didn't have an administration that at least would have represented mid-major universities at that time. And it was just it was disheartening. But at the same time, It allowed me to be a part of the University of Kansas staff. It allowed me to be the head coach at Southern Illinois University, and it allowed me to be a part of the Missouri Valley Conference for 16 years. I got to coach in that league for 16 years. And of those 16 years, you guys have to correct me if I'm wrong, but 14 of those, I got to come to the Coke Arena and most of the time get my butt whipped, but be a part of that atmosphere on a nightly basis, and got to be a part of great venues in the Valley. And I can't say enough about the Missouri Valley Conference. I love it. I've always been a spokesman for it, and will continue to be till the day I die.
Yeah, I mean, Drake and Loyola, of course, Drake had those 2 big injuries. That's devastating to them this year because they would have gone quite a ways. Adam, you got any questions?
Yeah, since you're pretty vocal in your press conferences, I was just wondering, what is your most memorable one, and then which one do you wish that you could take back?
Can we just say it's one press conference that'll answer
Yep.
both of those questions?
We all know that one. I knew you were going to bring that.
You know what? In all honesty, I won't take any of them back. They're all memorable in one way or another. I won't even take that back that evening. The only thing I take back from that evening is that I actually talked about a young man's name when it came to turnovers. That's the one thing I wish I wouldn't have done. I wish I would have taken that back. He didn't deserve that at that time. But I stood by everything I said, even that night in my rant. I'm old school, guys. It's hard to apologize for things that you have a passion about, that you believe in. And the only thing that I ever tried to do when I went into a press conference, the one thing that I really was heavy on my mind is that I wanted to speak the truth. I didn't have doctored up or a statement or a written statement to read. I didn't want to talk about stats as much as I could because, stats are boring. I wanted to try to give a feel for the game through my eyes. I wish there would have been a lot of times more time between the moment I got out of the locker room into the press conference. My dad used to say, don't make any major statements or major decisions until after 24 hours. But that's the beauty of press conferences. That's what you guys love. You live for that stuff. And but I for the most part, I always stood by what I said. And I said this the other day. I think I said it I know where I said it on Twitter. If they would have ever come up with a creation that you could put a speed bump between your mouth and your brain, that would have really helped me throughout my coaching career. But you know what, guys? You just you're either real or you're fake, in my opinion. And leopards don't change their spots, man. This is who I am. And I told people, I've told them my whole life, I'm not a thermostat. I'm a thermometer. Whatever degree you see, that's who you get right now. There ain't no regulation going on with me.
Now, all I got to say is, did you have to sleep on the couch that night when you got home to your wife?
You know what, guys? Here's the funny part. This is the funny part of that story. No one knew what happened.
Oh, wow.
We didn't know what happened. None of us. I get a phone call at 6:30 in the morning. Now, when you're a married man and you get a phone call at 6:30 in the morning, your wife is going to wake up.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget the athletic director, because he woke me up. And we didn't get in late. This is a road game. So we didn't get until late. So I was still groggy because I don't go to bed real well after. I go to, maybe 3:30, 4 o'clock, I go to bed. And I'm groggy. And he calls me and he says, last night went viral. In my mind, I thought he said last night I got a virus.
Oh.
And my first deal was, well, I hope you get to feel better. And then he said, no, Coach, last night's press conference went viral. And I said, really? And I said, well, I don't think I said anything bad, did I? And I said, well, we're trying to figure that out right now. And I said, well, what station is it on? He said, Coach, it's on every station. You're on Fox News. You're on CNN. You're on ESPN. You're on every station. And I've never really been important to my daughters in this profession. But when I got on TMZ and David Letterman, my daughters were kind of proud of their old dad that night. So it was a 48-hour blitz that I've never been a part of. But you know what? Like I said, I stand by everything I said, with the exception of using the one kid's name for the turnovers.
Yeah. I do want to ask you, because the 2013 Wichita State team, that Cinderella run Final Four, then the next year, undefeated. how as a coach, how great was it to coach against, I mean, not great because I know sometimes Fred VanVleet and Ron Baker, but how great was it to experience those guys and coach against them and tell your players, hey, these are the two guys we need to go after, lock them down, let's get it done?
Well, I think you just kind of answered the question in a backwards way, that the best part of that team, it wasn't about Fred and it wasn't about Ron. The surrounding cast, Shaq was so good at getting those guys open, and they just had every piece of the puzzle. They were extremely well coached. They had players at the positions. They could adapt to any style. Did they need to go small? They could go small. They need to go big. They could go big. And I know Fred and Ron, they used to get tickled because I used to, joking with them and even during the games. But Fred VanVleet's probably one of my favorite players of all time because he represents everything. And even Ron, they represent everything that I stand for. Hard work, chip on your shoulder, blue collar guys. And, Greg deserves a lot of that because he created that mentality at Wichita State, that play angry personification. I got angry as a coach at times, but I just, that's one good thing that Greg was good at. He could sustain that with all those players. They'd walk in the gym and you'd look at them and you just go, ooh, I think these guys are really upset at me. You just go, and they played like that. They just played with a chip on their shoulder. And I really enjoyed watching it from afar. I didn't really enjoy seeing it up close and personal when I had to play them. But for them to do what they did and for what Loyola did to represent the Valley, only once had I seen that before, and that was when Jackie Stiles was at Southwest Missouri State, our Claflin, Kansas girl, and I got to see those young ladies make a run to the Final Four, and it was probably one of the most special things I've ever seen, regardless of gender. It was one of my favorite moments of college basketball, watching those Lady Bears and then seeing what Loyola and obviously which Wichita State did.
Yeah. Adam, you got one last question?
Yeah. Do you think Greg Marshall will coach again for a team? And if so, where do you think?
Yes, I think Greg Marshall will coach again. For what team? I don't know. Time heals all wounds. I wasn't there in any of those things that were talked about, so I won't even talk about that. Let me tell you what I'll talk about with Greg Marshall. Not once in anything that I ever had an association with Greg Marshall did he not treat me with the utmost respect and kindness that I've ever been a part of. His son reached out to us too when I was even here at Oklahoma State. They came to watch our game at KU, and Greg Marshall's a friend of mine. Let me say this, guys, we've all made mistakes.
Yep.
This guy's not going to throw any rocks at any houses because I live in a glass house, and I've made mistakes. I go back to the biblical days. Let's just draw a line in that sand right there, boys. For those of you who have not sinned, cast the first stone. Buddy, I've sinned as much as anybody, so I'm not throwing any rocks. And I hope he can, because I think I know he loves young men, and I know that he is a phenomenal coach, and I hope he gets the opportunity. We are a forgiving society, and I think we all learn from our lessons, whether they be right or wrong. We all learn.
If you, just for fun, if you had to pick a conference he might end up in, which one do you think?
I think I can't pick a conference. I can't pick a school. I can't pick a team. I think you have to find an administration that understands that people make mistakes. And I don't think there's any question that Greg will tell you that he will come out and say at one point in time or another in his life that, I may have mishandled this. I may have done this wrong. I may have said this wrong. I may have handled this wrong. But I promise you, he's the type of man that will own up to it. And he's also the type of coach that will learn from this. So that's just my opinion. I'm biased because, like I said, I've always been a good friend of his. And I actually tried to call him about a month ago, and he changed his number. I don't have his cell phone number anymore. I just wanted to reach out to him because that's who we are. We're part of a fraternity. Yeah. And I just wanted to call him and just say, Hey, coach, you doing okay? How's your family? It's amazing when we go through difficult times and everybody's pointing the finger at you and saying, you did this or you did that. Are we a loving and caring society or not?
Yeah.
And I just wanted to reach out to him and, are you doing okay, buddy? We need that every once in a while. I've needed that. I've needed that in my life. You can only think about how I felt the night after the rant. There were a lot of people that were calling for me to lose my job at that time. They thought that was the guy, that I was that guy. And I was that guy. I was that guy for 7 minutes. About 3.5 minutes into it, I went Scooby-Doo on him. I went ruh-roh. But, I was all the way in. I might as well go. And I'm a Southern Baptist. I went full immersion. I was under the water, baby. And I went all in. But, I just think that we are a forgiving society. And I just hope he gets another opportunity.
Exactly. Do you hope to be a head coach again someday?
Nope. Cut you off right there, boys. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I had a chance to be a head coach when I left Southern Illinois. I really enjoy, the analogy, the old bull and the young bull. I'm the old bull, and I really like it. I don't want to be a threat to anybody. I'm not after anybody's job. I like being the guy that they look at me and they say, hey, coach, what do you think about this? I would like to coach again. I really would. I'd like to coach. I'd like to be on the floor. I miss teaching. If I get the opportunity to be an assistant where I can do that, or if the NCAA rules will change, which I think eventually they will, that give opportunity for for guys like me that just want to teach. I don't want to do TV right now. I know I could do it. I had an opportunity to do some games last year for the Valley and work for ESPN, but I just love being around these players. It makes me feel young. I feel like I have an impact. I get to teach every day, whether it's a basketball or a non-basketball related issue. And I want to do it as long as the Lord will allow me to do it.
Yeah, I enjoy watching you. I enjoyed watching you as a coach when we played you guys at Missouri State and SIU. And right now you are under a very great head coach. Mike Boynton, I know Oklahoma State fans were like, oh, God, this guy, he's not going to be very good. And what he has done there, and to get Cade Cunningham to come in, this guy has done a hell of a job at Oklahoma State. And with you and your other assistants, you guys got a hell of a program in the next.
Know what? You could put just what you said in all caps too. And let me say this about Mike Boynton, and I think people need to understand this. You could not have a young man of his age running a program at the Power 5 level that checks all of the boxes on and off the floor. He is as good a person as I've ever been around. He is a really good basketball coach that is really immersed himself into being a sponge to learn and to get better at everything he does. He is a man of God. He is a man with character. He is a man that teaches these young men day in and day out. I've learned from him so much because, like I said, I'm an old bull, and so many times he's teach me things that I would have never done it that way. And now that I see the way he did it, to me, it's brilliant. And I really enjoyed being around him. And I'm so happy for Cowboy fans because I do think we have the right guy running the ship. And if people only saw what he did behind the scenes, the true character of a man is what's done in the dark. And what that man does in the dark really shines exceptional.
Yeah. Before we let you go, Barry, my dad wanted to give you a shout out on this show. He goes, tell Barry that even though I don't like Missouri State, I don't like SIU, I still love watching him coach in his energy. So, Dad, there you go. I told Barry he's right here for you. So, my dad just wanted me to tell you that he still loves you as a coach, and he loves that you're respectful.
I appreciate telling your dad. I appreciate that. You know what? I really had a great relationship with all the fans in the Valley, to be honest. And specifically Wichita State fans, because they were, they were so approachable. And I know when the game was over, the media room at Wichita State, I miss Bob. I miss Bob Lutz so much. Bob's a crusty old fart, and he's cranky, but I miss him. I miss Paul. I miss Larry Rankin. I miss those guys that you got to see, and I enjoyed. It goes all the way back. I coached against Wichita State, even as assistant back in the days of Scott Thompson and Coach Cohen, and I really have a lot of respect not only for that program but for that city and that university. And Eric has always been a good friend of mine. Your former athletic director, I think the world of him. And you've got a wonderful place there, and it's going to continue to thrive. And my goodness, what a job Isaac's done. Yeah. Give it up to him. I mean, unbelievable what he's done. And you throw all of the stuff that we just talked about, and then you talk about what he inherited and how he inherited and how he's done and how they've approached this season. My gosh, he should be coach of the year. I think they've got a chance to win the league, and it'll be interesting to see how far they go in the tournament. But kudos to that staff, because they've done a great job.
Well, if we get any games played soon, hopefully we do. But this week we're canceled. We're off, so we just got to wait and see. But, Barry, thanks for taking the time out of your night. Again, congrats on the big win this week. We wish you guys well moving forward. Hopefully there's an NCAA tournament this year. It sounds like they're allowing fans, which will be great for you guys. So, again, thanks for joining us, taking time out of your night. I love having you. I love watching you. Keep doing what you're doing.
Okay, Aaron. Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you. And
Thank you.
Thanks to your dad, too. We'll see you guys.
Thanks, Barry.
All right.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for our show tonight. Barry Hinson right there. I love that guy. Oh, man. That was a fun guy to listen to, and I love what he had to say about his rant. That was awesome. So, all right, that's going to do it for our show. Again, Barry Hinson. If you liked our show, subscribe to our channel, like our video. If you have any comments and want Barry to see him, comment underneath. I'm friends with him on Twitter, so he'll see it all. Thank you.